I used to work in a holiday dealership at a cafe that they had there. The demographic for that cafe was pretty different to any other one I worked at. I had lots of people who rode motorbikes. You'd probably think, like outlaw motorcycle gangs, but it was actually just glorified public servant cafe because the only person who could really dump $80,000 onto a motorcycle was a public servant who had just gotten a job cut, a payout, and lined up a contract job earning way more money than they had previously. Today, I'm going to be talking about the three different types of demographics that you come across, as well as the various characters that you will encounter on your cafe endeavor. The first of these characters are the public servants. This is a pretty set standard. It's what most cafes will operate at in Canberra, especially around the city and a fair few of these other buildings, like in the town centres as such. You do get lots of people who are public servants. Public servants are good because they are regular. Once they trust your coffee, will come in every day to get a cup off you. So you will not only know their names, but you'll know what they're likely to order. And you'll also get pretty accustomed with the times they come in. Some of these guys and girls will come in multiple times every day. I have had some customers that come in 4 to 5 times daily to get a large cup of coffee to slam down with their cigarette. And that's really good business right there. You want to get these guys as regulars because they will continually come back. And if you're lucky enough to get one that is fairly high up in the chain, they'll sit at your cafe and they will have all of their meetings at your cafe. That is some good dollars for you. About 10 a.m., 10:30, you will get a big influx of public servants. They will all come in at once. They will line up out the door and they will be pretty stressed because they need to get their coffee and get back to work. So, ideally they'll all come at once instead of coming a little bit earlier or a little bit later. And from what I've heard, most of them are still on the clock. That's right. They're getting paid to stand in line and get a coffee off you. And if that's not a good business model, I don't know what is. You're also basically like their therapist. They're getting away from the office so that they can come and chat to you and try and forget about their horrible day with their horrible boss that's wringing down their neck. Sure, at 5:30 they might pop over to the pub to have like a different therapy session, but hey, you're still making money. Don't need to get all stressed about it. Don't need to get jealous. It's like sun goes down, you tag off. Sun comes up, you tag on. We are the beverage therapists of the daytime, us baristas. The next demographic I'm going to talk about are tradies. Tradies are great. I love tradies. Why? Because they'll come in and they'll get a big order. They'll have like 6, 7 coffees and probably 6, 7 bacon and egg rolls. But they've sent a little apprentice who's on smoko, and he doesn't care when he gets it. In fact, the longer you take to make his order, the more time he gets to chill, because again, he's on the clock. So tradies are so easy, because like they're early morning, so they'll normally be there from the moment you open. There is that smoker run, but they're really chilled out. Like you never really get any stress or hassle from them. You do occasionally get them coming in on a Saturday, Sunday, but again, the boss is paying for that. So they will go all out. They'll normally get the biggest meal. You've got the big breakfasts. Half of them will get milkshakes, large takeaway cups. And if you're lucky, they might stack the plates for you. If not, it's no big stress. You've just had a table of like 7, 8 people who've ordered ridiculous amounts of food, eaten it all, and walked away with their takeaway cups. That's easily my favorite demographic, but again, it's really hard to get like a tradie cafe because normally they're popping up at construction sites and just various other locations. And they also aren't really too snobby about their coffee, which is great in one way, but pretty bad in another because you won't really get a regular out of them. The third demographic I'm going to talk about are elderly people. I don't want to stereotype here. However, I will say that some of the most difficult, stressed out, and complaining people I have ever served in my life have been elderly folk. they'll typically come in late afternoon, and you're already half packed up because you start at like 6:37, you close at like 2:33, and they'll want to sit down and have a cup of coffee. And it's not a quick cup of coffee. They want an extra hot coffee that they can sit there with. And they'll always say the same thing. Why do cafes close so early? Because we're up really early, you twats. What do you expect? We don't want to be there for 10, 13 hours just so we can make $3.50, $4 off you. Get over yourselves. They will also be very disgruntled. A lot of the time they will be. I have worked at a cafe that had predominantly elderly people as our customers, and most of them were lovely. It does depend on how you treat them. But again, not stereotyping, but from my experience, they can be some of the most difficult customers to deal with. The characters that you get. So these characters aren't really set to any demographic. They can pop up in any of them. However, I have encountered different types of all of these across all of the different demographics. So you get the weirdos. Now, I had a weirdo today. He wasn't, creepy weird or anything like that, but it was very challenging to try and keep up his energy and keep a conversation with him. He was talking about particular bands, drummers that own particular bands, how, Queen is the most famous band in the world or something like that. And I had to hold my attention. I had to be friendly and polite and engage this guy in conversation, even though I really had to get other work done, and I would much rather have not tried to talk to him about all of these random subjects. There was this other guy who used to come in a cafe. He was a pretty fun weirdo. Like, it was not your typical type of conversation you'd have with him. It would be completely left field. And I loved it. Every time he came in, I'd greet him. The coolest thing about that is it made him very, very memorable. I'd be able to make his coffee, I'd take it over to him, say his name, and have a good chuckle afterwards. You'll also get prudes. Prudes are rude. They're the difficult customers. They're the ones that you could not please if you served them a Wagyu steak on a golden platter. They'll come up to the till and they'll be talking on the phone, and they'll just have such this demeanor about them that just means, I don't have time for you. I have much more important things to do. Just leave me alone and give me what I want. Prudes are very, very hard to deal with. But again, normally there's a win-win situation. You give them what you want so they can get out of your hair, and you don't have to worry about serving them for any longer than they want to be there. Last but not least of the types of people you encounter, these guys are my favorite. These guys and girls, they are the cool cats. They're the ones with the charismatic personality. You can tell that they're just like a ball of fun at the office. They like to have fun with it. And they'll come in and they'll engage you. They'll have incredible chats with you. And you'll bounce off each other. There'll be a lot of banter there. And they'll entertain you about as much, if not more, than you entertain them. And this is a shout out to all those cool cats out there. If you are trying to be any type of person who goes into a cafe, I recommend you be a cool cat.